This is the Dancing Plague of 1518 on True Oddities podcast. In the blistering summer heat of July 1518, in the free imperial city of Strasbourg, nestled along the Rhine in what is now eastern France but then part of the Holy Roman Empire, the narrow cobblestone streets lined with half-timbered houses echoed with an unimaginable horror. Merchants hawked their wares, craftsmen hammered in workshops, and families scraped by on meager plots of land. Yet beneath this ordinary rhythm lay a city on the brink. Years of devastating famines had left the population starving and weak. Waves of plague, smallpox, and the terrifying new scourge known as the French disease, syphilis, had ravaged bodies and minds. Superstition ran deep. Saints were both protectors and punishers. The people lived in constant fear of divine wrath. Little did they know, one ordinary woman would ignite an epidemic unlike any other in recorded history. It began on or around July 14th. A woman named Frau Trophea, sometimes called Frau Traufea in chronicles, stepped out of her modest home onto a narrow street. Without music, without warning, without any apparent reason, she began to dance. Not a joyful jig or festive reel, but a frenzied, uncontrollable spasm of movement, twisting, hopping, leaping, her arms flailing wildly. Her eyes were vacant, her face a mask of vacant intensity. Neighbors stopped to stare. Her husband pleaded for her to stop. She ignored him. She danced for hours until she collapsed from sheer exhaustion, sweat-soaked and gasping. Then, after a brief rest, she rose and danced again. For 4 to 6 straight days she kept going day and night, pausing only when her body gave out completely before resuming. At first it seemed like a bizarre personal affliction, but soon something terrifying happened. Onlookers who had watched her began to mimic the motions. Within days, more than 30 people, men, women, even children, joined the dance. They moved in the same spasmodic, jerky fashion, bodies drenched in sweat, feet pounding the stones until they swelled and bled into their shoes, arms thrashing as if possessed. Cries for help escaped their lips between gasps. Their eyes stared blankly ahead. Some vomited from the exertion. Others collapsed mid-step, only to rise and continue. The mania spread like wildfire through the crowded city. By late July, the number had swelled to hundreds. Chroniclers later estimated between 50 and 400 victims at its peak. The streets became a nightmarish carnival of involuntary dancers, their movements so violent and unrelenting that blood pooled in their feet, and they danced until their hearts gave out. City authorities were baffled and alarmed. No one understood the cause. Contemporary explanations pointed to supernatural forces. Many believed it was a curse from Saint Vitus, the patron saint of dancers and epileptics, who was said to punish sinners by forcing them into endless motion. Others whispered of demonic possession or overheated blood that could only be expelled through more dancing. Physicians and alchemists debated hot humors and imbalances. The city council, desperate to contain the chaos, consulted doctors. Their solution? More dancing. They reasoned that if the victims danced it out, the affliction would leave their bodies. Guild halls were cleared and turned into makeshift dance halls. Professional musicians were hired to play pipes and drums, keeping the rhythm going day and night. Strong men were paid to hold up the collapsing dancers so they could continue. Stages were built in public squares so the afflicted could move freely without obstruction. This decision backfired catastrophically. Instead of curing the mania, it accelerated the contagion. The music and public spectacle drew more victims into the frenzy. Suggestion spread like a virus through the stressed, superstitious population. By August, the dancing plague consumed the city. Up to 15 people a day were said to die from heart attacks, strokes, exhaustion, hunger, or thirst. Bodies lay where they fell, trampled under the feet of the still dancing. The air filled with the sounds of pounding feet, labored breathing, occasional screams, and the relentless beat of hired musicians. Chroniclers described scenes of pure horror, dancers with bloody, swollen feet begging for mercy even as their legs kept moving. families watching loved ones waste away, the elite despairing as the epidemic showed no sign of stopping. The outbreak lasted over a month, from mid-July into early September. At its height, the city was paralyzed. Trade halted, daily life ground to a standstill. Finally, the authorities changed course. They banned public music and dancing to stop the spread. They turned to religion. Victims were gathered, dressed in special red shoes sprinkled with holy water, painted with crosses on the soles and tops. They were given small crosses to hold and led in processions through the streets, while incense burned, and Latin prayers were chanted. Many were transported to the shrine of St. Vitus in Saverne, about 30 miles away, or to a mountaintop chapel for absolution. Word spread that those who completed the pilgrimage were cured, forgiven by the saint. Slowly, the mania subsided. By early September, the last dancers stopped. The streets fell silent once more. 8 years later, the brilliant Renaissance physician and alchemist Paracelsus visited Strasbourg and studied the event. In his Opus Paramirum, he classified the dancing mania into 3 types: chorea naturalis from physical causes, chorea imaginativa from the imagination, and chorea lasciva from voluptuous desires. He suggested Frau Trophea's dance might have been a deliberate act to embarrass her husband, but the epidemic itself stemmed from the imagination fueled by fear and stress. Other chronicles from the Imlin family and municipal records confirm the scale and the panic. This was not an isolated event. Dancing manias had struck Europe before, particularly along the Rhine and Moselle rivers. Outbreaks in 1374, 1418, and others into the 17th century. But 1518 remains the most thoroughly documented, with physician notes, cathedral sermons, city council orders, and vivid eyewitness descriptions. Modern science offers clearer answers. The leading theory, advanced by historian John Waller in books and papers, is mass psychogenic illness, also called mass hysteria or collective conversion disorder. Under extreme psychological stress from famine, disease, and superstition, the population became highly suggestible. A local belief that failing to appease St. Vitus could curse one to dance provided the perfect cultural template. One person's trance-like state triggered others through social contagion, much like modern outbreaks of fainting or twitching in schools or factories. Ergot poisoning from contaminated rye bread was once popular. Ergot produces LSD-like hallucinations and spasms, but Waller and others dismiss it. Ergot victims convulse but do not dance for days on end in coordinated groups, and outbreaks clustered geographically despite varying crops. The dancing plague of 1518 stands as a chilling reminder of the power of the human mind under duress. It shows how stress, belief, and suggestion can manifest in physical symptoms with no organic cause. In our own era of pandemics, social media panics, and collective anxiety, the lessons echo. One woman's dance became a city's nightmare, proof that the strangest oddities are often born not from the supernatural, but from the fragile wiring of our shared humanity. As the echoes of those bloodied feet fade into the silence of Strasbourg's ancient streets, we leave the dancing plague of 1518 behind, a true oddity born not from demons, but from the fragile human mind under crushing stress. That's it for episode 1 of True Oddities. Next time, we drop into the skies over Idaho, where the Fish and Game Department once parachuted live beavers out of airplanes. And it actually worked. You won't believe how this bizarre wildlife rescue became one of the strangest success stories in conservation history. Subscribe, rate us, and I'll see you in the next weird chapter. Stay odd.